Welcome back to Analytical Media. We are a consortium, a group of therapists, college professors, and well-published peer-reviewed authors. You can find our book on a subject of psychopathy entitled Descent into Darkness at Amazon.com. This book tells the full story of the murder of Travis Alexander by Jodi Arias, but it explains it from the perspective of psychopathy. So if you wanted to know more about the psychopath, how do you identify the psychopath? How can you protect yourself from the psychopath? This is a book that has been used in universities, in graduate courses, and undergraduate courses. It's interesting, it's easy to read. Check it out. Get a copy at Amazon or ask your librarian to order you one. Today's question, entitled Fear of Checking Bank Accounts, Credit Scores, and Bill Statements. For as long as I can remember, I have had anxiety about, and many times chose to ignore, things like checking bank accounts, credit scores, and bills. I also would ignore messages to respond by phone about these things, and other issues like medical tests, or even my dad wanting to talk to me about something. I think it was my way of not being disappointed or let down by the results of what I would find out. While knowing that the type of behavior could be harmful financially and medically, I did nothing. If I don't know that something bad has happened to my bank account or blood test, then to me it hasn't happened and I can live in that uncertainty. But as I've gotten older, that uncertainty is worse than just knowing the reality of the situation. For a long time, I was terrified about making mistakes and being in trouble. And these anxieties feel very much tied to that. Is this just general anxiety? Or does this fear of finding out have a more specific diagnosis? Is the best way to overcome this just to push forward and get over my anxiety? Or is there a better way? So, what the writer, the questioner, is stating or asking is why she is afraid or anxious or refuses to find out the truth about her bank accounts, the truth about her credit score, the truth about any bills and statements she got. So she's ignoring these things. Is this a specific mental health diagnosis? The answer is no. I'm afraid the best diagnosis here, which would not be from the DSM, would be it's a matter of responsibility. If you don't check your bank account statement out of fear, your credit statement, your billing statements, you don't return phone calls out of fear because it might be bad news, it's a matter of irresponsibility. You're simply being irresponsible because your thinking is, if it's bad news, I don't want to know it. So I'd rather live with the possibility of bad news than to live with finding out, recognizing, being told that there is bad news. But underlying this all, we go back to perceiving reality correctly, which is a characteristic of self-actualizing people. And one must recognize that being self-actualizing is possible for everyone. You're not born self-actualizing. It's a process you begin. It's a concept brought to us from Abraham Maslow. And he says healthy people see reality more clearly. More clearly than what? More clearly than the average person who is not healthy. Only self-actualizing people, according to him, are healthy. So, he stresses the importance of seeing reality correctly, perceiving it correctly, the importance of knowing that 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 does not equal 3.8, nor does it equal 4.2. It equals 4. It certainly doesn't equal 3 or 5. Or somewhere close to 4. It equals 4. It's important to know the truth, to perceive reality correctly. And to do that, we use logic. Now, 2.0 plus 2.2 does not equal 4. It equals 4.2. There's nothing magical about the numbers. It's just that the logic of addition is applied correctly and the numbers are identified correctly. This is a 4.0. This is a 4.5. Together, they equal 8.5. Identify the numbers correctly and use logic to add. But if you don't perceive reality correctly, you can't possibly be right. If you think the number is 4.0, but in reality it's 4.6, then no matter how good your logic is after that, you will be incorrect. And if you correctly identify the number is 4.6. You've correctly identified it. You've perceived it correctly. And the other number is 4.0. And now you use addition incorrectly, or the logic that's used to combine those two numbers is incorrect. You can't possibly be right. So your logic must be correct, standard logic, and your perception of reality, the reality of the numbers, must also be correct, or you're going to be wrong. What this woman is talking about is not all that unusual. And it is a sign of an unhealthy person, a person who feels overwhelmed or is afraid of feeling overwhelmed, doesn't have self-confidence, the kind of person who's getting by in life but not prospering in life, and they are ignoring the reality around them. Anything that's unpleasant to think of, they are ignoring. I've used this example in class literally hundreds of times. You're at home. All the doors are locked. You're alone. In the basement, you hear a box fall over. You hear something, a noise. It was unmistakable. You heard it. Now, what do you do mentally? Do you say, the doors are locked? I'm home alone. There must be no problem. There's no escaped killer in the basement. And so you ignore it. And now you hear another noise in the basement. Perhaps it could be the dog pushing something around, but you don't have a dog. You hear another noise. You lower the TV. You hear a little bit, then it stops. Now, what is the logical thing to do to protect yourself from the potential danger in the basement? Well, the correct thing to do is to assume that there's an unexplained noise in the basement, which could be caused by a raccoon that snuck into the basement, a groundhog that tunneled into the basement, or an escaped killer from the hospital that is down the road from your home. It could be any of those things. To assume without fact what it is very dangerous. To assume that it is nothing, turn the TV up and forget about it, that could be very dangerous to you. So, your goal isn't a quick end to your existence. The goal is to be healthy and happy and to protect yourself from danger. So logically, to do that, you need to investigate the basement. Maybe you're very brave and you have a weapon that you use at the target range all the time. You're an excellent shot, and you decide to go down into the basement to investigate for yourself. Or maybe you don't own a weapon. Maybe you don't trust yourself to shoot that weapon, even if you do own it. You could just go out the front door, go to a neighbor's home and use the phone, or go to a neighbor's home for protection. And either thing is fine. It's whatever you decide logically is in your best interest. The one thing that's not fine is to ignore the danger. This woman ignores the danger. She won't check on her bank accounts. She won't check on her credit scores. She won't check on her bills. And she won't return messages by phone about things like medical tests or a message from her father. She won't do it. She said, I think it's my way of not being disappointed or let down by the results of what I would find out. But the danger of these things, obviously, the danger is high. It's dangerous to have your bank account hacked. It's dangerous to overdraw on your bank account. It's dangerous not to have medical tests or to return calls to medical professionals. Or it's dangerous to someone if your dad leaves you a message and you don't call him back. It could be dangerous to him or dangerous to you. He could be calling and say, there's an escaped guy from the mental institution in your basement, a murderer. Or he might be calling back to say he's having a heart attack and he wants your help and call an ambulance. So, are you safer to ignore strange sounds, medical tests, ignore your checking account? Is it safer to do that, or is it safer to be anxious to find out what's going on? You're anxious, you have anxiety when you think about your bank account or your dad or the medical test, and that's not pleasant. It's somewhat bad to have that anxiety. But if you found out that your blood tests are very bad, you find that out, you could protect yourself. It might save your life. So if the goal, we always have to state the goal, and if the goal is to lead a healthy, happy life for as long as possible, we can logically determine what behaviors should occur. This writer of this question, she knows what behavior she should do. She knows it, but she's asking why she's doing it anyway. And she even suggests is the best way to overcome this, to just push forward and get over my anxiety, or is there a better way? Well, I don't think she's ever going to get over her anxiety, but I would agree that she should push forward, irregardless of the anxiety she feels. Will that make her less anxious in the future? I don't believe it will. She's worried that there might be something wrong with her bank account. She's worried that the doctors might have bad news for her. I don't think that's going to go away. I think every time you get a phone call from your doctor, an unexpected call, you're very likely going to be anxious. That's part of life. Fear, anxiety, danger, it's a part of being alive. I don't think we're going to get over it, but it doesn't mean we should ignore it. You're no safer ignoring that strange noise in the basement than you are acknowledging that strange noise in the basement. You're anxious, and you should be. Well, it could be that you forgot to let the cat out, and that's what was making the noise in the basement. But it could be the escaped killer. And if the goal is to protect yourself and lead a healthy, long life, then we can determine you need to find out what that noise was. You don't need to go down there with a sharp knife from the kitchen. You could dial 911 and say you're home alone as far as you know and you just heard a noise in the basement. They'll send a car out. Or if you don't want to wait that long, just leave the house. In behaviorism, there's a concept called maladaptive behavior. Maladaptive behavior is a word for mental illness. And the word mental illness doesn't occur in behaviorism. They don't recognize mental illness. They don't have mental illness, but they do describe maladaptive behavior, which is behavior that goes against being adaptive or promoting your life. Maladaptive. Certainly ignoring that sound in the basement is maladaptive according to behaviorism. So to the writer of this question, I would say, yes, you should stop this behavior and you should certainly return calls to medical professionals, check your bank account, check your credit statement. Knowing that your credit statement's not good will enable you to change your credit statement, to work on it. But not knowing what your credit statement is ignoring potential danger, just like ignoring that sound in the basement. To the writer, I say, I'm sure you can face these things and should be responsible in every area. I'm sure you can do that. I'm also sure it's going to be somewhat stressful, anxiety promoting, and it's not going to get any easier. 20 years from today, being the most responsible human being alive, 20 years from today, when you hear a strange noise in the basement and you think you're home alone, you're going to become anxious. But that's a part of life. If you want to be safe, you're going to face your fears. This is Analytical Media. If you're interested in this type of thing, subscribe to the channel, recommend it to friends, share these videos with your friends or specific videos with your friends. Any questions, put them in the comments. Any additional thoughts, put them in the comments. And hopefully we will meet again in the next video. Until then, I wish you the best.